AutoSave. My name is Camille Salzer-Hadaway, and I'm here, as always, with my co-host, Mr. Nick Andrade. I try to put a little growl into that.
Is it because we're in Norse mythology? You know what? That's the one thing. I love going on tangents here at the beginning of the show, but I have had such a hard time throughout all these episodes saying Norse mythology because I always want to say North mythology.
Yeah.
And it just, Norse is it's a hard word for me to pronounce. Maybe it's my Invisalign. I don't know.
I mean, also maybe because it's Friday. You may just be having a case of the Fridays, but it's okay.
No, I have more energy in the afternoons than I do in the mornings. So when we record this show in the afternoon, I think I bring it a lot more than when we record in the mornings, which we're recording in the afternoon today. So if my entertainment factor is up here, people, let me know.
It's like, if the energy is too much, let us know so he'll tone it down. Well, there was a lot going on last week's episode.
I saw something, the rift, possibly the birthplace of reality. I looked inside and something was there looking back at me. It whispered to me things I couldn't possibly comprehend, but I knew they were true. When it blinded me, I thought it was over, that I'd never see inside again. And then I found this. And I knew that it would finally let me see the answers. You see, son, I don't know where I go when I go. There's no Valhalla for me. Ragnarök cannot be the end. I need to know there's something more than this. I need to know what happens to me.
So Odin was in his feelings, revealing that he was obsessed with the mask because it has infinite knowledge, and he really wants to know what happens to him after death. Because yes, Odin is a god. So what happens to gods when they die? We don't know. Maybe the mask knows. So Atreus decides to go to Helheim to help Odin discover the secrets of the mask, along with Thrud and Heimdal. Yes, that's right. But the mission was unsuccessful and pretty much a disaster after Thrud and Atreus unleashed Garm, a ferocious hell dog who starts creating realm tears everywhere, and the mask also breaks because it doesn't lead them to the next fragment. So he is hurt, and Thrud is kind of upset because she was trying to make a huge impression on Odin to show that she's also a warrior. And then it didn't help that we had Heimdal also gloating in the corner at our failures as well. What a jerk. So Atreus decides to head back home like any preteen would and cry about it, which I mean, I would do the same thing. So we head back to Sindri's, and Garm's realm tears have unleashed everywhere there. So Atreus decides, in order to set things straight, they're going to find Garm and put a stop to him. But wait, Atreus gives life once again. After defeating Garm, he whispers Fenrir's soul, who happened to be the soul in Atreus's knife this whole time, into Garm's body, bringing his buddy Fenrir back. And the father-son duo decide to just go and have some time to reflect before continuing on the mission. And that's kind of where we are right now. And in this episode, we'll be covering chapter 13 and 14, Creatures of Prophecy and Unlocking the Mask. Now, Nick, for you, I noticed I didn't write this here. Have you ever done that where you think you wrote something and you didn't? I so did that today in the script. But the question for you for today, because we're dealing, last episode we dealt with Garm and kind of like that sidekick of Fenrir. And you know how Odin also has a sidekick of the ravens. If you were able to have a mystical creature as your sidekick, what would it be?
Oh, so you're saying like Fenrir is Atreus's sidekick, right?
Yeah.
Now that once the soul of Garm kind of like disappeared. Okay.
So like what animal, like mythical creature?
Yes.
This one's hard.
This one is hard. I would say like the first thing that coming into my mind is like a hippogriff.
What's a hippogriff?
It's like a half eagle, half lion. I think a hippogriff, I'm not sure another term for it, but I'm pretty sure it's a mythological creature. I just don't know what from.
That was actually my first answer too.
It was?
Yeah, like that's what immediately when I thought of this question, that's what I thought of. And I'm curious why why did we both go to this creature?
Well, I just thought of something that could fly, which is something that I wanted. Okay. Just like think about like me carrying a sword on the back of this thing.
Yeah.
Or just travel in general. Like, whenever I'm trying to go through transit in Toronto, I got to wait like 20, 30 minutes for a bus. But I could just literally just say, hey, hippogriff, come help me. And then boom, home. That's what I need.
Please, taxi. I mean, hippogriff.
Yes.
Please. Yeah, you're just hailing it.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought definitely because I want it to fly. But I also want something cute and like furry and like cuddly. So then that's why I was like, oh, the half like lion or like a dog or something like that. But then also I do want something like Pokemon size, like Togepi size that I could also carry along with it. So I think I want a shape-shifting mythical creature.
Okay.
I could put it in my purse. I could, could travel the skies with me and take me where I gotta go.
So there are mythical Pokemon. Does that count? Or it has to be mythical creatures?
There are mythical Pokemon. Yeah, I say, hey, let's do it.
Oh, so I'm looking up online right now. A hippogriff is technically called, in a mythical creature wise, a griffin. So that is what it is. Okay. It's a griffin.
Oh, I guess that makes sense with the Gryffindor because it is the emblem. Is that right? Yes.
So I'm looking at a list right now. We got dragon, unicorn, mermaid, werewolf, fairy, troll, leprechaun, sphinx, a chimera. That's the other one I was thinking of. A chimera, which is like, it just has different body parts of all different animals, and it's almost like a mutant thing.
That's scary.
If I could, like,
don't do that.
One day, I don't know, producer Dylan tells us, our episode wasn't good enough and we have to redo the whole thing, I might set a chimera on him. Ooh, or a manticore. Those things are ferocious as well.
You're going in the creepy realm. You want this buddy of yours will be around you all the time. It's your sidekick. It's your like friendly mythical sidekick.
Why is it
Pokemon,
friendly?
Whatever
Who said it had to be friendly?
So you just want like just
I would love it to
evil
attack
and like
people.
just But what if it turns on you? I wouldn't be able to trust that. I need something that's very friendly, very cute to look at. It's just pleasant to be around.
But guess what? My mythical creature would basically kill your mythical creature. So,
whoa. You just turn this into like Pokemon battles.
Battles?
We would just battle our mythical creatures. That's horrible. We're just like enslaving them for battles. What?
Also, a ghoul? What is a ghoul doing in here? How is a ghoul a mythical creature? Oh, Kelpie is on here. We saw Kelpie in God of War.
We did see Kelpie. What is the lion creature? It's just a lion with wings. I want that. The eagle thing kind of freaks me out.
Is that like, what is that? Is that the same thing?
I don't know, but I'm going to choose it as my mythical buddy. And you know what? I'm not going to put labels on him. Whatever he wants to be. I'm telling you, I just want something that shapeshifts. I think that's what it is.
Okay. So
I want all of it.
Changes to everything that you want. Okay. Fair enough.
Changes to whatever I want. But really, I want it to be cute all the time and pleasant and not battle as soon as you see it.
Who said battle? I said
weird.
Straight up murder your mythical creature.
Oh. Well, thank you for the correction there, Nick. Speaking of murder, guess what? We have this episode.
Nice.
To go through, and after the break, it is time to return to Vanaheim.
Where's Freyr? She came here to help her brother.
She leads the search party for Freyr and Bigvir. They've been captured by the Einherjar.
How'd that happen?
An ambush. The presence has intensified since your last visit. To make matters worse, the celestial wolves haven't been seen in days. Or at least I assume. Not easy, tracking time with no moon in the sky.
No moon.
Just like in their shrine.
Their shrine.
It's a long story. You want us to check on them?
You have my gratitude. We're spread thin. And if anyone can help Skoll and Hati, it'd be a fellow giant.
Very well. well.
So last we saw Freya, she was leaving Sindri's help to help her brother in Vanaheim, and now the father-son duo is back from their bonding, which I spent this time to do lots of side missions. I think actually the break from last chapter to this chapter was the most time I spent like trying to complete all of the side missions. Did you do that in this chapter, or were you like pretty much done? I feel like a few chapters ago you were probably done your side missions.
Honestly, at this point in the game where we are exactly right now, my Kratos was a beast.
Okay.
I think I had gotten all the Eden cores already. So I had like max health. I think I had max fury as well. Almost all of my things were capped. So there was a point here, I think before this chapter, I tried to fight those gravestones and those berserkers. And there was one berserker in particular where I was just really, really bad and weak. And I think I spent 30 minutes, couldn't beat him. And I'm like, clearly I'm not strong enough.
Yeah.
So that's where, and I took it personally. And I beefed up Kratos so much that by the time I got to this point in the game, I had almost everything. I don't think I didn't go after the ravens yet.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of freaking gear.
Oh, okay.
And I think my blades and everything were like at least like level 6, 7, or 8 at the time.
Okay.
So no one was getting in my way in this chapter is what I'm trying to tell you.
You were powering through this chapter. Well, I decided to
Yes.
catch up with you in between this last chapter and this
Beautiful.
one, and
Thank you.
I really appreciated it going into this chapter because we're returning back to Vanaheim, and when we get there, we actually see that Freyr's camp is completely abandoned. However, we do find Hildisvini. I always have a hard time saying his name because I want to say it like it's a magic trick. Hildisvini.
I got
No?
no, just you and pronunciations. It's like it's a box. I don't know when it opens what it's gonna say when it comes out. I think it's Hildisvini, and I'm pretty sure I'm right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're right too, but I'm just.
But I do enjoy your pronunciations in almost everything. It's because I know you know the characters' names, and I know you mean well. But
Yeah.
you just if there's like two consonants together at once, I don't think you know how to
It's
process
very
it.
tricky. It's like you in Norse, but it's me in like all these names in this game.
Yes, but at least we admit it, right? We're both both there.
We're
Okay,
not
so
perfect.
alone.
We're just
No.
going through the game with you. But so you're saying Hildisvini.
Hildisvini.
Hildisvini. Hildisvini.
No, Hildis.
Oh my God, see, I can't.
I think you say Hildis.
Hildisvini.
Hildisvini.
Oh my God, I can't do his name. Anyways, you know who we're talking about. That guy. The shapeshifter of
Wait.
Freyr's crew.
Pause.
What?
Let's call him for the rest of the game. Let's call him Hildy. Okay.
No,
Deal?
I'm not gonna call him Hildy.
Let's call him
I'm just
Hildy.
gonna call
Why?
him Hilds. No.
Okay, that's harder for you. I think Hildy's more funny, but okay.
All right, Hildy. Okay.
Love it.
So Hildy lets us know that stuff has hit the fan since we left.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Pretty much there's more of Odin's men around that are causing havoc. They also have pretty much captured Freyr. And we find out that Skoll and Hati are actually nowhere to be found. So they've been living in this day cycle. Their day and night cycles are pretty messed up. And he asks pretty much Kratos to check in on Skoll and Hati to find out exactly what's going on there. If this doesn't sound familiar, well, guess what? You haven't been playing the game and paying attention, because this is exactly what's been happening. The prophecy in Groa's shrine, it is coming true. We saw in the shrine that Skoll and Hati do disappear because the moon is gone, and it is up to Kratos and Atreus to bring them back, which is like every time there's something from Groa's shrine that happens, I'm just like, no, pause, I don't like, exit, close window.
I didn't even know who Skoll and Hati were at first. So
Really?
we're like introduced to them. They're like wolves who are gods as well, right? And they control
Yes.
night and day. And we have to
Yes.
go find them, but we don't know where they are.
It's pretty cute because they chase after each other, right? And that's the whole
Yes.
day-night cycle.
Oh, that's how it works.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Isn't that cute?
But I do remember that there was a shrine in the first God of War, or God of War 2018, that explained who Skull and Hati were. And then again, we hear about them in Groa's shrine. And now we have to go after them here in order to help Freyr. I was confused at the start of the mission what exactly my purpose was. But that makes sense, right?
Well, I mean, Nick, all right, they just pretty much been ambushed by all of Odin's men. There's a lot going on. Okay. Yeah. Hildy can't explain it all, as I can't say his name. Okay. So it's a little bit of a confusing situation, but we know, yes, we are focused on Skull and Hati. And along the way, because we did see them before, so we're going back to their den. I guess I could say den because they're wolves. And we encounter a few fierce stalkers. Well, actually one fierce stalker with a lance and some cursed golems, which those bloody Nokins are controlling. But it is pretty easy peasy, especially if you spent the time to do the side missions, level up, make sure that you are as powerful as Nick's Kratos. Now, knowing how this prophecy goes, once the moon returns, Hati and Skull will kind of return into their cycle of chasing each other. So we actually have to follow an Einherjar. Oh my God, these names. One of Odin's soldiers. Yeah, I know, but still, I'm not going to get it throughout the episode. I'm going to be like an Einherjar. So we follow an Einherjar who has taken the moon, and she pretty much just throws a bunch of enemies our ways. But once we do that, you have to defeat her and a wyvern, which again, pretty easy and simple. And then you get the rune back and you're able to make your way back to Skull and Hati's den to put the moon back in its place, which, I mean, this is just like legendary stuff. This is what like I would read about in like university English when they're going through the books about all these different mythical creatures and, you know, elaborate stories from times past that were taken down. So this is one of them. We are putting the moon back in place. Sounded pretty badass. Now, on the way, Atreus is having some serious doubts. So, like, you hear Atreus actually talk to Kratos, worried about putting the moon back in its place and actually having Skull and Hati return to their regular cycle, because obviously they're unhappy because they're not doing their usual. Mm-hmm. And really, his concern is because of Kratos' fate. He doesn't want Kratos to die, and he's literally playing out what was told in Groa's shrine. So it's this interesting way where you have to, you know, for Atreus, he has to kind of reflect, but also knows that he has to make it happen. And you hear Kratos talk about that it's not necessarily about making the future or this prophecy become a reality. It's about doing what's right. And who Atreus is, he wouldn't want to leave the wolves alone if he knows that they need his help. And that's very true to Atreus' character. We've seen that many times before. Interesting enough, we also hear Mimir say the same thing. Like he's saying, well, Atreus does bring up a valid point. What's going to happen with your future while we play these, you know, prophecies out IRL? And Kratos again just shows his love for Atreus and speaks that only his life matters. He doesn't really care about what happens to himself. He just cares about what happens to Atreus, which was a really sweet moment that was in between this journey back to the den.
I don't know. They keep going back and forth with the prophecy, and Atreus is scared, and, you know, it seems I think Kratos maybe is starting to realize that they're going down the path, whether they like it or not, even though it's something that he's tried to instill, which is we don't have to follow prophecy. More and more, I'm starting to feel like he's doing this and realizing that it's inevitable.
So now it's time to fulfill prophecy.
If I do this...
Fate only binds you if you let it. Do what is necessary, not because it is written.
Elsa!
Good choice, lad.
So we hear Atreus doubts once again in Kratos' words of wisdom, which is still really sad whenever Kratos just kind of gives him his... I feel like he's giving up already. It's weird
No.
because like the Kratos that we knew from like the previous games, especially 2018's God of War, like he wouldn't have given up, but I feel like he has. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's like if you have any older people or elderly people in your life, I feel like there is a time. And I'm not starting to no, that's not what I mean. There is a time when you're talking to them and their conversation shifts. Like if it's your parents, for example, you hear their outlook on life shifts from, okay, yeah, we got to do things to make all of us safe, or we got to do things for all of us, you know, and then it shifts more to you wanting to make sure like you're okay. Don't worry about me. I lived a happy life kind of thing. Did I get dark again on this?
You did. You got really dark. 'Cause I only laughed because you're trying to relate this to like old people, you know.
Well, Kratos is old. If you think about it, he is old.
He's old, but he still's got a six pack and it's ginormous. And he's a god. I think he's gonna live for quite a while.
Being old doesn't mean frail.
Sure, but I don't know. Just like I don't think Kratos is giving up. I think he'll do everything he can to survive. However, I think he's just starting to realize that whatever goes down they're on the path anyway. Like you know, he's just trying to prepare Atreus for the worst.
Okay, fine, fair.
That's all I'm saying. Like he's still super strong, right? I think he's gonna take down as many as he can. But if there comes a situation where he's got to either sacrifice himself to save Atreus, he'll do it.
Yeah, and I will say that I think maybe giving up is the wrong words. It's more, I don't know how to describe it because I'm not old, but hey, Kratos understands that he's old.
You know what? If there are 60-plus-year-olds that are listening to this show, I apologize.
Well, we're old to them. Hey, it's a cycle of life. All right. Now, on a brighter note. We now have the power of day and night, which is pretty cool because we restored the moon, and Skull and Hati are back to their chasing each other, which is really cute. So with this new power, we don't necessarily know how that is going to play out at this point, but we decide to head back to Freyr's camp. And we get ambushed along the way. Of course, you have more of Odin's men and the Drekis as well. But back at the camp, we actually hear Helga's puppy whimpering. I've never noticed this dog before. This is the first time we're seeing this dog, right?
Wait, I thought it was a pig.
Is it a pig? No, the pig is Hildy.
Lunda's? No, it's
No,
Hildy?
the pig. Yeah, remember he transforms into a boar, and Atreus tried to kill him that time.
Right, that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah,
yes.
But then we hear the whimpering of like Helga's puppy, which is off to the side, and for some reason we're just like, hey, yeah, the puppy, really good at tracking things, and then that's it.
There's a few animals in this game now that I'm starting to lose track of. We got wolves. Are they dogs or are they still wolves technically? See, I don't even know what like time period this is. They haven't like evolved into dogs yet. What's the evolutionary chart in this time space?
Someone make it, because we do need it. We don't even know our mythical creatures, so please help us out. After we see the cute little pup and we're just kind of like, yeah, you're there, cool. Freya shows up and tells us her plans to save Freyr. And pretty much what it is we're going to create a diversion as Kratos and Freya, and Atreus and Hildy are going to go in to the temple that Freyr is being held at. And the temple, by the way, happens to be Freya's father's temple, which is it just these reminders of how big Freya is in Vanaheim. I sometimes forget. So when I hear like all of this, I'm like, oh yeah, she was worshipped by people. I keep forgetting this.
Yeah, she's like the main goddess.
Yeah,
of
exactly.
Vanir gods, yes. So
yes,
she's like the
Vanir
main goddess of the Vanir gods. So yeah, she's huge.
I keep forgetting we're rocking with a lot of gods. It's not just Kratos.
No, and they're all different types of. You got the Aesir gods, you got the Vanir gods, then you have the Jotun giants. Yeah. It's there's a lot.
With Tyr, with Freya, and with Kratos, we're like we're like the holy trinity of god superheroes here to save the other gods and people from Odin.
You're adding Tyr to the list, who literally just does nothing and is always like complaining.
He's still like, a god of war. He's
I
still
can't deal with
legendary.
war. I'm the god of war, but I'm going to sit in Sindri's house all day and do nothing and complain.
Well, stop complaining because we have new powers that we now understand the powers of day and night and wielding them mean. So in Vanaheim, the landscape physically changes. So if it's day, you may have vines that create a bridge, and then at night, those vines disappear to allow for a new passageway. I thought that was pretty cool. Creeps me the F out. If I was in Vanaheim for real, just how the vines move, I was getting creeped out a little bit by it. I don't know. It was weird to me.
Creeps you out?
Yes.
It is visually stunning when you are able to change day to night, and then you hear the howl, and then you hear the realm, or you see the realm tear split, and it turns from day to night. Visually beautiful. Even the vines moving, everything looks super cool.
But you're looking up in the sky.
So?
No, the vines, and you hear the and then they just don't like it.
Listen, we've done a lot. We've rescued Skull and Hottie. We've taken their power basically, which is cool. It's this it's like a water basin, and you have to like you know, have you ever done wine glass music or whatever it's called? You know, is there a term for it with the water inside? That's basically what it is.
Yeah, I remember watching like an episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I was like not even a kid. I was just too old to try this at home, but I did it anyways.
You tried it
and filled it up with water.
Did it work?
No, I tried to use like my finger to go around the rims of the glasses to make different sounds. I don't know how to do it.
So no wonder you were grossed out by it. You're probably still pissed that you couldn't make music out of wine glasses.
Trauma.
Yes.
The emotional trauma. Yeah, probably. But you know what? Kratos and Atreus are able to do this. So, I mean, that's pretty cool. And Kratos does do that here. And we actually see that there's an altar that has a bunch of branches around it. So we have to clear that through to make our way to the temple.
Completely giving away your position. What idiots. Oh, if it isn't Queen Mistletoe herself. Hilarious, by the way. Been a while.
Heimdal.
And you must be the little half-breed's father. Lucky day! You have a lot to answer for, Sunshine. You too, traitor.
Better a traitor than Odin's lapdog.
The burden is mine.
I can help.
I know. But you are needed elsewhere.
He's right, you know. Sizzles wasn't looking so hot last I saw.
I know you didn't want this, but we know how this ends. See you soon.
Well, we both know that's not true. But don't worry, Frigg. I'll be coming for you and your brother as soon as I am finished here.
And just like that prophecy comes true, we find the most annoying character in the game. Yes, he now overthrows Atreus in my books, Heimdal. Heimdal greets us here, and like, who invited him to the party? Because we definitely didn't. And because Freyr is in trouble, we see that you see like in this moment that Freya's like really wants to help Kratos with this fight, but then also her brother is in danger. So Kratos, like a good friend, sends her on her way, and it's us against the annoying Prince Charming Heimdal.
Prince Charming. Oh yeah, he looks like Prince Charming. I get the annoying, although I think you've been really hard on Atreus lately. You know, being annoying. I think he's grown. I think he's grown up sevenfold, but I think that's conversation for another day. However, Heimdal, this is what we've all been waiting for.
Yeah.
I've been hoping to kick his ass at some point. We see him finally. This is why we got our Draupnir spear. This is why, you know, Kratos has gone through the lengths he has in order to fight Heimdal. I know it's supposed to be prophecy. I know the Norns said it was going to happen already. But when we see him for the first time, I'm like, hell yeah, let's go. Because this Draupnir spear that I have now is overpowered, and I'm about to kick his ass.
You know, as soon as he starts gloating, I was like, I know exactly where I'm going to throw this Draupnir spear, like right in between your eyes. You were so annoying. And also like how he gloats about his abilities. Yes, we know you could predict what's happening, but guess what? He didn't predict our Draupnir spear.
Oh.
And that really is the saving grace for this fight. But our first phase of Heimdall, actually you have Gulltroper, the mystical creature he's riding on. His beast.
You want to call him Gully?
Gully? Well, what is it? Gulltroper?
I think it is.
Am I like Americanizing this too much? Gulltroper.
No, that's fine. That's fine. It's just basically a beast that he rides. It's nothing too spectacular in terms of names, but yes.
Well, he's pretty strong, right? Like he's going to throw some blows, so you're going to have to be able to block that and make sure the timing is right in order to push him back and find those openings to attack. But I found this like just more not difficult, but it was just more, it took longer than I expected because you're not actually getting a lot of hits in at a time. So you have to try it like a few times in order to knock his health all the way down.
So I had thought getting the Draupnir spear would have meant that we would have not an easier time with Heimdall, but he wouldn't be able to predict our moves as much. That is the case to just a teeny bit. Heimdall can still predict our attacks. So this fight, again, like you said, it's really long, and it's long because he predicts a lot of our attacks, and a lot of them don't work. So you have to time it right properly. My best strategy with the Gulltroper, and then when Heimdall, you just fight him as is stay away, keep your distance as much as possible, and then I would throw my spear. I would charge it up, throw, charge it up, throw. Charge it up,
do the explosion.
Throw. Yes. So I would do that constantly until I had enough time to have my my special attacks build up, and then I would find the time. I think Heimdall tries a blow, and then you can dodge him, and then you can attack that way. It's all about timing with this fight because, again, he predicts your moves. You can't just go in with haymakers. You have to be strategic with all of it.
But you're right. It's getting that distance. Because I even found, like, if I were to do the shield block and, like, create that opening, I sometimes wouldn't get in any hits because he's also very quick. So I would just rather create that distance right away, which I think made me a little bit frustrated during this fight because I was like, oh man, I feel like I could have done this a little faster. But yes, now when you officially defeat Gulltroper, you now have to face Heimdall one-on-one. And there's this little bit of a cutscene, which I find is really interesting because Heimdall says, you don't get to decide my fate, because pretty much what happened is Kratos takes off his arm and Heimdall starts to regenerate it, but in it he gets so upset because he's actually getting beaten by Kratos, and he says this, you don't get to decide my fate. Why are gods so obsessed over being in control of their fate? Like, because a lot of gods know more than mere mortals, I feel like it would be more of an understanding, like you can't undo fate. Like you can't undo the inevitable. You will die eventually. So you just have to make the most of your life, whether you are god or mortal, in the time you're given.
Are gods immortal?
I don't think all gods. Well, I mean, Kratos killed a crap ton of gods. So I would say no.
I mean, like if you don't get killed, you can live forever. I think that's the aspect, right? Like if you won't die of old age, but you can't die to the blade.
But then your fate could still be that you get killed by someone.
Right.
Right? Like you can, like, especially if you're jerks like all the Norse gods, apparently, you're going to make enemies. They're going to want to kill you. They may be successful.
I just think what frustrates Heimdall here is because he is able to predict everyone's motives, feelings. He can read people really well. He can read their attacks. He knows when you're going to make an attack before you make it. To lose his arm like that would make him more frustrated because no one has ever done that to him.
Yeah.
So now he's even more freaked out saying, you're not going to decide my fate. because now he's starting to realize that, this guy can actually take me on, which is something he's probably never dealt with before.
And the fact of the matter is, well, Kratos may have something to say about that because he may want to be able to decide his fate. And he does, because he beats the crap out of Heimdal, like the crap out of him. I was shocked at how bloody and gruesome this scene was. And the fact that you hear Mimir in the background telling him, don't do this, you don't want to do this, was just shocking to me. I don't know. It was hard to watch in a sense. I didn't feel bad for Heimdall because it was also very satisfying because he was so annoying. But I think in this moment, we might have seen an ounce, like a little tiny bit of regret from Kratos. Because remember, from the beginning, he said that he didn't want to kill Heimdall. He wasn't going to fulfill that prophecy, even though he found out that he wants to kill Atreus. And yes, he got the Draupnir spear in order to fight Heimdall if he had to. But I think this was a moment here where we were seeing like the old Kratos from before the 2018 games. This was like the climbing Mount Olympus, killing all the Greek gods Kratos. And I think he was caught in that feeling because he's very protective over Atreus, that if you look at the scene on his face, you could see that there is that moment of pause after he killed Heimdall.
Yeah, but then also in the moment he does what he does. So it's hard for me to think like, obviously.
Well, I mean, after he like beat the crap out of him, he's all bloody. He had a moment of pause.
Maybe it's not regret per se as fear that he could slip into his old ways. That could also be a possibility because he just did that right there. You know, he didn't want to succumb to prophecy. He did. And then he just killed Heimdall and really, pummeled him to death. And that's just old Kratos that we know from Greece. So yeah. I think he's afraid. He's afraid of what he's capable of still.
Yeah. Like he kind of lost his control in that moment. Well, what's done is done, and we still have Freyr to save. So we actually go back and find our crew, and we see that they're being ambushed by a lot of enemies. So we actually have to defeat some of the enemies that are ambushing them. And then we also find out that Freyr is injured. So we actually try to carry him. Well, we actually do. We Kratos just lugs him over his back and runs through the game with him, which is really, really cool. As all these enemies were attacking, it was just trying to get the injured man out, which was really fun. And they kind of find themselves at this dead end. But we find out Freyr has a boat, this famous boat that we've heard about in his the lore that we've learned throughout the game. And it looks like a paper boat, but then it actually grows to this like giant boat that flies because everything must fly. And it was pretty cool to see just how beautiful that scene was as well.
I didn't even expect it, to be honest. Just getting on that giant boat. It's so beautiful. And again, the scenics tell all the stories in this game. It's just so beautiful. But again, I don't know much about Freyr. Even before this, like I've heard, a few things about Freya. I kind of know a little bit of Norse mythology, but with Freyr, I have no idea who he is. But that is his boat.
Yeah.
And that is one of his powers, which is really cool. And it's just like this cloud sky boat. And this scene in its entirety is just incredible.
Yeah, it is. And, with that being said, we actually find out that they're continuing to be attacked in the sky.
We have guests!
Oh, there's another one!
I knew this was going too smoothly. Little help?
They're too fast! Look out!
I can't get a steady shot.
Då jag fränder. Då gör själv detsamma. Jag vet en att aldrig dör. Domar dagen.
Virka! No! For Vanaheim!
So we're attacked by gluttons on this boat, and because of how the boat it works in the sky, anything that flies, dragon, I guess these are what they are, could kind of knock it out and everyone will fall to their deaths. So we lose Brigger, who decides to sacrifice himself to save the rest. And this was a really touching moment, even though we're not that close with Brigger at all. No, we aren't. We don't know him. This is Freyr's group, but we see the love that they have for him in their conversations, right? And I was kind of sad.
I thought it was a cop-out.
What?
Yeah.
What? I
didn't buy it because this is a character we have no feelings toward. What had maybe one side conversation with him if you actually like go up to him and just talk for 2 seconds. I have no idea who this man is really. They try to create these little backstories for all of Freyr's band of misfits. I get it. But this whole like sacrifice from him, it doesn't do anything for me.
Okay.
For me in this situation, like it makes more sense if it's like Freyr, or if it's someone that is close to us, and if it's Hildisvini, if it's someone like that we actually have known a little bit through this game. But to me, it just reminds me of like a fantasy movie where all the characters survive here, and you just throw in the character you just met is the one who sacrifices themselves. It's kind of like, it didn't do anything for me because we have no connection to him whatsoever.
For this moment, that little scene that they had with him kind of talking to himself and making that decision, it got me. Because that's the thing, in these moments of battle, you have split seconds to make a decision. And the fact that he was able to literally jump off, and it's like not even an instant death. It's a death that you have to see coming, literally, because you're going to hit the floor or pass out of shock. And then
are you talking about his actual death? What
yes,
happens?
it's sad.
So he flies through the air and he like gets squashed like a bug.
Yeah, it's not even an instant death. It's like literally he's falling to his death. That's terrifying.
We don't see it.
Poor guy. But I know it's coming. So I feel it.
All right.
Now that Freyr is safe, well, it's time to go back to Sindri's, but we'll get into that right after the break.
None of you understand what's coming. Odin's vengeance will be his only concern.
Not his only concern. The mask. Whatever knowledge it unlocks, that's what Odin wants more than anything. If I go back to Asgard,
Go back.
Look. If I can finish what I started there, awaken the mask, get answers, maybe that's our way out of this. But I gotta go soon. Before they figure out what's happened.
Atreus, you are home. Do not ask me to put you at risk again.
From a tactical perspective, am I wrong?
I don't much like it, but it is our best play. Dividing Odin's focus would buy us time.
And give us a pair of eyes in the enemy's inner sanctum.
But if there is truly a source of infinite knowledge, you can't let Odin have it.
Aye. And once he has what he needs from you...
Then I lose my leverage. I get it. I'll be smart. Father, I can do this.
Okay, so Atreus wants to continue to help Odin to learn the secrets of the mask and understands its use, but of course Kratos is a little bit hesitant. But I think when they reach this conclusion to have Atreus go back to Asgard, it's again reinforcing that bond that they have and that trust that Kratos now has in him. I think Kratos is starting to see him as a young man rather than just the boy, which is really nice to see. So we head back to Midgard because that's where we need to call on Odin's ravens to take us to Asgard, and we see a familiar face.
I just want to say one point. Again, kudos to Kratos for accepting and understanding that his son needs to do this, because he finally gets his son back after worrying about him so long. And then he convinces Kratos to say, like, I need to do this. And Kratos accepts it and lets him go. So I just wanted to say their development is really getting strong now.
So we meet up with Angrboda, and she's talking about writing her story. This is where her and Atreus left off, because her story, according to her shrine, was done, or her mom's shrine was done, because she was just there to help Atreus. But she was on this path to find all the marbles, to find all the giants' marvels, and figure out how she could keep them safe. So I think she's taken a completely new perspective on life, which is eye-opening, because I think her perspective kind of switched with Atreus's perspective. Because at first Atreus was like, no, prophecies, we're not going to make them happen. And yes, I think he still feels that, but I think subconsciously he is making them happen, and he's leaning more towards them for the answers, where she is trying to reiterate that you have to make things happen yourself. Write your own story the way you want it to happen. And this is exactly what Kratos has been telling him. Even if it may seem like it's following a prophecy, he has to believe it himself, like believe that he wants this to happen for himself rather than believe it has to happen, if that makes sense.
It does, but what makes it funny is, where did Angrboda get this information to start writing her own story and making her own story? It was Atreus. Atreus told her that it wasn't just, her prophecy was to help Atreus along the way. And then after that, it was fulfilled, and she was sad because she didn't know what else to do moving forward. And Atreus said, you don't have to follow prophecy. You can make your own story. And now when we meet her again, we see, like you said, Atreus is now falling into thinking, oh boy, maybe it's inevitable what's going to happen. Whereas Angrboda is the opposite. So it is funny how we meet each other again at this point, and their perspectives are totally different. And the reason why is because of Atreus telling Angrboda, hey, you can follow your own path. It's just funny how that works sometimes.
Oh, these kids, you can't keep up with them and their thought process. But I do like how Atreus closes the door behind him as he's going back into his house to go to the ravens, because he's trying to hide the fact that he's working with Odin. And then he tries to reinforce the fact that, like, he's in control of the situation, which, it's whatever. Plus, we get to see cute little Fenrir. So this was a nice little scene, because we saw
the giant Fenrir.
The giant Fenrir, yeah. The now cute looking, like, you would want to have him as your, like, pet too, right?
Yeah, of course. He's huge.
Yeah.
But he is, like, lovable.
But he doesn't look like he's going to murder everything. Well, we do head back to Asgard, and we see Odin.
Heimdall's dead. Happen to know something about that? Anything?
Well, I mean, everyone hated him.
Sure. But have you seen anything? Something noteworthy?
I mean, he did sock through pretty hard while we were out. Maybe someone found out? Got even? I don't know.
Are you suggesting my son had something to do with this?
I don't know. Honest.
Well, I had to ask. Never believed you had anything to do with this. I'm glad you're back.
We actually hear Atreus lie in this moment, blatantly, to Odin, because Odin questions about Heimdall. He finds out he's dead, and he wants to know if Atreus knows anything about it. And Atreus is like, no. I would have suspected that Atreus was lying, because he's not a good liar at all. But hey, Odin doesn't suspect anything, or at least it seems that way.
Yeah.
And we actually have to find Thor to accompany us to Niflheim. But we can't find him, so we check in with Thrud, and she leads the way to where she believes her father is. She's obviously hurting because of the failed mission, and you see Atreus really trying to mend this friendship that he wants to have with Thrud. And I think she wants to have the friendship too, because she's not like really angry. I think she's just more disappointed than she is angry at Atreus. He generally feels bad, and I think it's important for us to see their friendship in all of this as well.
Yeah, their friendship's a little different from Angerboda and Atreus. I think there's a love connection between those two. But these two are, I think they have badass dads and shadows that are cast from those father figures. And that's how they're able to like connect with each other. But yeah, I love this friendship because again, it's almost like a Romeo and Juliet, I would say, without the romance, but like, you know, it's the Capulet Montague kind of thing where you have Kratos on one side, you have Thor on the other side. How do you become friends in that light? But these, again, they're children, they're innocent, and they like each other. And regardless of what happened before in Helheim, Thrud looks like is kind of able to forgive him a little bit.
Speaking of shadows cast by your father's light, we have to find Thor. And Thrud actually leads us to a bar where her father is really drunk. Like really, really drunk. This whole scene was actually pretty fun because you have to find your way through the crowd. You lose track of Thrud because she's up ahead. She knows exactly where her father's sitting. This is obviously not the first time she has found him here. As Atreus, we go through the crowd, which I just thought was really cool movement. And Thor doesn't want anything to do with Atreus, nor going on this mission because he is all in his feelings because he's had a few, I guess it's mead? Is he drinking mead? What is he drinking? What do we think Thor's drink
Ale,
of choice?
mead, whatever it is. Yeah.
Do you think he's like a mead person or is he more like malt? I feel like he'd be more malt.
I feel like he's ale, like bring me your finest ale. Like that sounds like a Thor thing
true.
to say.
That's a pretty good Thor, by the way.
By the way, like I did not expect, I don't think I would have this on my God of War Ragnarok bingo card of having to pick up a drunk Thor from a bar. I didn't think that would be one of our missions, I'll be honest.
No, this was the last thing I thought would happen, a bar fight in this game, especially in Asgard out of all places.
Yeah.
But I mean, the gods need to have fun too, and a part of that fun is literally fighting other enemies because I mean, that's what they do.
Yeah, and Thor is having so much fun. He's like rekindling his love for fighting as he's drunk.
Yeah, and because there's a bar fight, we also have to defend ourselves and we have to defend Thrud and help Thrud out. So you see just all these other like soldiers just fighting each other. It was really fun. I enjoyed this scene. Plentiful. But of course, after the highs of drinking, there are those lows as well. And Thor definitely feels them.
I know you're disappointed.
Disappointed? No. That was a glorious fight. You can't even say you're sorry this time, can you? Because what's one more broken promise? Grandfather treated you like crap. You were struggling. I get it. But you can't just... We're here for you. Mom and I are here for you. Even when you're here. We love you. You know that. I just thought this was behind us.
I fucked up.
Yeah, you fucked up.
So this conversation between Thor and Thrud, you could tell he genuinely wants to be a good father. He is upset with his actions. He's upset with how Thrud is seeing him in this condition. And I'm sensing, hear me out now.
Yep.
I'm sensing some Kratos vibes. Kratos wants to be a good father. Kratos gets really disappointed if Atreus sees him, like when you're thinking back to the 2018 game, in a certain light. right? When Atreus is disappointed or fearful of him. That is very much like Thor right now. I feel like Thor and Kratos have a lot in common than they realize. So it's interesting, though, that Thor has this other layer of really dealing with Odin and not being able to be the father he wants to be because his own father, Odin, is having this psychological hold over him that comes in the way with the relationships of Thrud, his sons, his wife. I think I'm feeling really bad for Thor at this point. Is it because he's drunk? Is it because he's having a drunk rant? I don't know.
He's constantly bullied by Odin. We see their relationship is far from perfect. But this is the part where, he's feeling guilty. He wants to do better for Thrud. Whatever it is, like Magni and Modi obviously didn't have the same effect on him as Thrud does. Thrud, makes him want to be better, whatever that means. But this is the point where I'm starting to think in my head, are we going to see Thor turn into a good guy? This is all I kept thinking in my head as I was playing this scene. I'm thinking they are setting us up for Thor to be a good character. Whatever that is, whatever that means, I'm mentally and physically preparing myself for that moment because I read it through this scene entirely. I don't know if that's the case, if it's actually going to happen or not, but they're planting the seeds. They're planting the seeds of people starting to get more, understand more of Thor rather than he's just a piece of meat who attacks and kills. That he's actually more than that, and we're starting to get these little seeds about it.
Well, I feel, I didn't get the feeling of like they're setting him up to be a good guy. I just got more of the feeling that they're making us empathize with the villains, the so-called villains, because they're all kind of, they all have their own stories, and they're all trying to do the best for their family. Well, most of the time. Odin sucks. He's horrible. But anyways, we go off to Niflheim, and we actually see Thor having this hangover throughout the whole way, which is hilarious. I'm a fan of this whole adventure with drunk Thor. We also get the final fragment of the mask through encountering enemies. We encounter Hellwalkers and the Frost Ancients, but really it's not too tough. Once you defeat the final Frost Ancients, you'll be able to find that final fragment of the mask.
I'm sorry. You are here. Why?
His father murdered Heimdal. Forseti has proof. Take him.
No. Leave him alone. I command it.
You said no more Aesir blood would be spilled. You said family comes first. You don't think that this is retribution for him being here? He's put your granddaughter in danger. He's made your son miserable.
Loki didn't kill Heimdall. His father did. Your daughter is old enough to make her own mistakes. And your husband started drinking again, all on his own. Dismissed!
Can't you see what's happening? He's not protecting us. Magni, Modi, our boys. We used to tell them stories by the fire. Do you remember? We would carve those wooden horses. We would play and laugh until the sun sank and they fell asleep in our laps. They were thrown at the Allfather's problems like brittle knives to a mountain face. And for what? What if Thrud's next?
You kill my sons. Sleep in their beds. Turn my father against me. My daughter.
I have no idea what's happening.
You know, I finally thought of something I can teach you.
Hey!
You
Stand down! Sindri better be right. Where are you? Sindri! Ugh. You sure know how to plan an exit.
Atreus.
So Sif arrives, and she starts a fire under this whole ordeal of Thor's emotions, and he starts to take it out on Atreus or Loki. I'm going to say Loki. It's, again, weird how we switch our minds to saying Loki when he's with the other Asgardian gods, but I just fall in that habit. So in this, he starts to actually physically go to attack Atreus, despite Odin telling him not to. And even though he's really angry, and I get it, like he's angry at his father, it was pretty uncalled for to take this all out on Loki. I don't know why he just didn't go and attack Odin. Like, for being the god he is, I thought this is where I was kind of misdirected, because when there was that conversation with Thrud, and when he had that drunk spiel in the bar, I thought it was more setting up to the fact that he was going to go against Odin verbally, like have an argument with him and more stand up with him, like stand up for himself.
Yeah, but to me, it made sense because he started to realize that a lot of his problems all stem from Atreus and Kratos. Although he was like started to warm up to Atreus a little bit, his wife kind of like, wakes him up to that thought and be like, wait a minute, these are our enemies and they can't be trusted.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. So after that, thanks to Sindri slipping a stone to Atreus to help him quickly escape, Atreus exits that situation, and we find ourselves back at Sindri's with the crew. Now, the crew learns about everything that's happening. They have this conversation about what the next steps are, and Freyr believes that they should find Surtur to build this army, which is based on Groa's prophecy that says that all the Hellwalkers will be a part of this army that goes against Odin in Ragnarok. So Freyr is really aligning with that. And Kratos is very interesting enough, has no, or at least doesn't verbalize what he thinks he should do, or him and Atreus should do. He asks Atreus what he thinks. What should they do with the mask and with all this information? Which, again, just shows how much Atreus has grown in his eyes and how much he actually trusts Atreus to lead the way. So they decide that they're going to use the mask for their advantage, and they're going to go to Asgard as well.
I know you've questioned why you even pulled me out of that hole. I have too. But it's clear now. This is what I'm needed for. This is my purpose. One last time, I will pick up my spear and I will lead us to Asgard.
Excuse me, but if you got a way to Asgard, where's that idea been this whole fucking while?
That's rather a fair question, brother.
You withheld Asgard.
You would have gotten us all killed. And we needed to give Loki time to find his destiny.
Slow down, you damn spruce. I still want to hear the details on this, new way to Asgard you got. Spill it!
It's an ancient path. We can't reach it from here.
Where then?
Let me collect my things and I'll show you.
You ain't got no things. And where are you going with that mask, Brock? That belongs to the kid. He earned it. All you done was make passable dirt soup.
Brock, it's okay.
No, it ain't. This ain't right. All the pieces ain't welding together true. Like, what's with him calling you Loki anyway? You know that ain't his name. Hey! I'm talking to you! You never shut up!
Of all the things.
Odin.
Let go of the boy and face me!
Tell your brother to throw me the mask and you've got a deal.
Stop moving.
Freya?
What the F? This whole time? Tyr was not Tyr, the god of war. He was Tyr, Odin. What? This was this took the cake of surprises. I did not see this one coming from a mile away at all.
I normally try. I normally can figure out some twists and turns in a lot of either games or movies that I watch if you follow the pieces right. But honestly, this took me for a loop and a spin completely. I had no idea that Odin was Tyr this entire time, and he was, wow, just it was just incredible seeing, like, you start to think and wonder about everything else that has happened. And of course, it was when we first went to Svartalheim to save Tyr, it was so simple. And I remember thinking that in my head. I'm like, okay, so Atreus had a hunch that he was in Svartalheim, and oh, look, he's in Svartalheim. And now it all makes sense of how much of a bum Tyr has been this entire time. He's basically abstaining from all violence so that he can continue to hear everything that they're doing. And obviously not, no one is being suspicious of him. But my God, I didn't see that coming at all. But what an incredibly tough scene to watch, as Brock is the one who figures it out. And that's the reason of his demise.
Yes. We're going to get into Brock because, but there, oh my gosh, there's so much to unpack in this scene. I took the time to really think back to where were the signs? Like, how would we have known? This game hid that so well. Like, there was very minimal besides Tyr's behavior, which a lot of characters in the game pointed out that was very uncharacteristic of him, but also made sense for what he supposedly went through. So this game deserves an award just for this reveal. And then Brock deserves an award for discovering that something was off. Because even in the moment when he's like, yeah, we'll go and get our things, and he grabs the mask, I didn't even know, like, I would have never thought something was odd about that. Like, even as it was happening.
Right.
And then I was like, why is Brock, like, I kind of looked at Brock and I was like, wait, what is he talking about? And then I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah. Odin did say, or Tyr did say Loki.
Yeah.
That's weird.
But because we've heard them use Loki this entire game, the Aesir gods, you kind of tied into, like, okay, they all know about Loki, but that's not true. Not everyone does. So yeah, just well done. Santa Monica, well done.
Well
because
done.
that kind of
well
that moment was for me as equal to, like, Snape killing Dumbledore when I found that out for the first time. I was floored. I couldn't believe that it happened.
So we see Odin make the quick escape as well in this scene. What a sneaky, sly little god he is. As he takes the mask and makes a run for it and holds Atreus hostage, because we know that no one is going to attack him because they love Atreus so much. Kratos, thanks to the Draupnir spear, uses it to throw a spear at Odin, but at the same time, Odin actually gets away. But luckily, the mask is still in our possession, which now we have the mask and we also have the horn. I think we have all the pieces for Ragnarok.
Well, we don't even know what the mask means. So
nope.
As long as Odin doesn't have it and he can't translate it or open the realm tear, that's the most important thing for infinite knowledge. We don't want him to have that, but we don't know what it does in our possession, and hopefully Atreus does in the next few chapters.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be hilarious if Jim Carrey was just called upon as soon as the mask was worn.
Stop it. This is, again, Brock, we'll get more into it, but a main character who, we talked about what's his face who jumped off the boat earlier. Now
Brigger?
we finally get something that matters. Yeah, Brigger.
Finally get something that matters. Brigger matters too, Nick. So don't be mean. But yes, definitely award given here. I think this is in all different mediums, movies, TVs, video games, whatever. This is probably on my top 3 best, like, surprises or, like, throwing the audience in for a loop ever. It was so well done. But yes, it does end with the sad fate of Brock, or maybe not so sad. I mean, he died once. Maybe he'll come back. But that's basically it for this chapter. We're going to break all of this down and more right after this.
This whole time?
So, what do we do now?
Now we kill Odin. And anyone who gets in our way.
Atreus. Come.
What? Where?
It does not matter.
All right, so we lost a friend. Brock, man. Like, Brock has been with us on this journey from the first game. Even though, like, we talked about it, we haven't really had that chance to bond with him, but this game gave us that when we got the Draupnir spear.
Yes.
So I think that's why this loss hurts the most as a player. Obviously, we see for the characters, it hurts them. We see Sindri's reaction and not wanting to really have a dialogue with Atreus because he's hurt. And we see Atreus being visibly shaken by what has happened because he feels responsible, because he wanted to seek out Tyr from the beginning, and Tyr turning out to be Odin obviously led to this. And I think that's why we see Kratos at the end of the scene say, "We're going home." He recognizes his son needs a break. Do we think there's a chance that Brock could come back?
Yeah, I mean, anything's possible with these kind of games, right? I think Kratos died how many times? Twice, 3 times in the original series.
Yeah.
So I'm never say never in terms of Brock dying, but yeah, it's emotional because one, we finally get to see, these characters deal with grief head on fully, apart from, I guess, the beginning when Faye died. Atreus really hasn't dealt with. I mean, he did murder Modi in cold blood, but I don't think that counts because he had no feelings towards him. But this is something where Atreus has tried to do good in general in this game. He's just trying to, find out who he is, and I don't know, like, it just, for me, Brock, even though you said we had our bonding experience with Brock in this game, which is great, but I think it extends further than that. In 2018, again, he's the first dwarf that we meet. We meet him before we meet Sindri, and he's just like no nonsense, doesn't take anything, doesn't take any bullshit, swears. He's the only one who swears, I think, really fully in this game. He was just always like a calming presence, because Sindri's always the one who is freaking out about things, is nervous, is whatever. And then Brock is just like, oh, shut up, everything will be fine. So to see him be the one who dies is really sad, especially when he figures out that it was Odin. Well, he didn't necessarily find out it was Odin, but he knew that something was off with Tyr. No one else figured that out, and he pays for it. And it was just a really sad moment.
Oh man, I'm so caught up in these feels because it is very sad, and there was a lot to unpack here. We deal with the loss of, whether you love it or hate it, Heimdal. Obviously, from our side, playing as Kratos, we don't feel for Heimdal, but Odin probably does. Heimdal was like Odin's right hand man. He trusts Heimdal with like this side mission that we saw last chapter. So there's a loss there on that side. We see a loss for Freyr and his band of misfits with Brigger. And then we see this again with Brock here. I think what the game is leading us to is the fact that, yes, it may be, I think the game's trying to question whether it's worth it. Like, what is the worth of going after this god if you're losing so many friends along the way?
I might disagree with that. I think it's trying to prepare us for what we have to sacrifice in order to bring this, tyrant down. I think it's just trying to say, like, these lives will be lost, unfortunately. And no matter how much you try to avoid prophecy, how much you try to avoid, in Kratos's instance, like becoming who he used to be, you can sometimes, like, I don't know, it just doesn't disappear. Like, these things will happen anyway. And I think it's just trying to prepare us for what's to come. That's all.
I'm not prepared for what's to come because all these deaths keep leading closer and closer to Kratos, and the fate of losing Kratos, if that is actual what's going to happen, I don't think I'm ready. I ain't ready for it.
If that happens, I hope not.
All right. Well, this was definitely 2 heavy chapters. Nick, is there anything else you want to add?
There is, actually, something we didn't mention after we defeated Heimdal is we have Gjallarhorn. So we can literally start Ragnarok with a toot of the horn.
Oh my gosh, I completely forgot that. Yeah, the whole thing with Heimdal and his death is the fact that we do have the horn to call on Ragnarok. So this is really the point of no return if that horn is used. And I think that's why, as well, Kratos decided to leave after Brock's death, because they're not in the right mindset to make that decision yet.
Yes.
Oh, but we will have to see if they do. Will Ragnarok come? Will Brock be back? Please let Brock be back. Find out on the next few episodes of AutoSave. AutoSave is produced and hosted by Nick Andrade and myself, Camille Salazar-Hadaway. The show is also produced by Dylan Wilson. Gameplay and additional elements provided by Chris Zeiser. Technical production by Greg Fillion. Executive producer, Clayton Hansler. You can follow the show at AutoSave Podcast on Twitter and AutoSave Pod on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch. You can subscribe to the show wherever you're listening to it right now. And if it happens to be Apple Podcasts, kindly leave us a rating and a review, but only if it's good. AutoSave is a Soda original hosted on the Soda Podcast Network.